So like most car enthusiasts, rather than actually working on the projects I should be working on, I've decided to procrastinate by buying another project. And in front of me, I have 10 cylinders, 2 turbos, and my new project car. In this video, I'm going to talk you through what I actually bought, why I bought it, and also what I intend to do with it and everything that's wrong with it. And there's quite a few things wrong with it. So the car that we ended up getting, we drove a 10-hour road trip to get it on Monday. And there was quite a weird story behind this car too. I got sent, like 2 months ago, I got sent a random Facebook Marketplace advert. I don't deal with Facebook Marketplace. I don't like it. I find it's a waste of time most of the time. But a friend of ours, Wally, sent us a link and it just had like one nondescript photo of this car. It was the most generic photo of this car, and then randomly last week while I was in Germany I got a message about it and got sent a phone number, and as soon as I got back to Ireland that phone number resulted in me and a good friend of mine, Jack, who is known as Slick E36 online, went on a 10-hour round trip to go get this very car. Now buying one of these cars was definitely not part of the Retro Garage plans this year, and but we do have this kind of thing where every year since 2018, way before Retro Garage, well, we've bought a new project car every year, and we were getting towards the end of 2024 and we had nothing bought yet, and I thought, oh, we wouldn't end up buying something, and sure enough, like 10 days before the end of 2024, we're buying a new project car. And as well as that, since the Retro Garage Instagram has blown up, well, we haven't actually bought a car since. The Audi S6 was bought and done before I started putting effort into Instagram, and it was time to kind of restart the channel again with another new project. So it's time for the adventure to get the new car. We're on the long road to Mayo. Well, I do indeed. I'm a full-time content creator now, I'll have you know.
Oh, yeah.
We're almost at the location for where we're buying this car, 4 minutes away, and it's been a long haul drive. So an hour first to meet you, and then I think you had an hour to meet me.
Yeah.
And then as well as that, yeah, to get the Jeep and trailer. Thank you, Ross, as well for that. And also Brian for the trailer. B-I-Z-Y. Here's a man who's busy.
Hello.
Hello, sir, how are you?
I'm
What do you think of the new project?
blue.
Not that one, that one.
It's blue.
It's blue. They're both blue.
No, that's very blue.
That's very blue, that's less blue.
It's very blue.
Yeah. I'd say that's enough hints we'll give them now.
Fair.
After 3 hours, I think we've been on the road now. We stopped off briefly at that petrol station we always stop off at for going to Donegal Rally.
Yeah, we're on the road 4.
Oh yeah, so 4 hours on the road. It's been that long that I've forgotten how to do maths, but we're almost there, 3 minutes away, and I'm really excited to see this because I've wanted one of these for quite a while, and I found out about this car 2 months ago, you know, kind of sent a message to try get it, and I never heard back up until last week when I was in Germany, and of course I have all the wrong people around me to give me the wrong advice and to encourage me to make stupid mistakes, so...
Well, no, you're not letting me do what I want to do with it.
What do you mean?
Cut it up.
No, we're not cutting the car up yet,
Yes.
but it's a really... It's a really interesting car. It's the type of car you probably...
Expect you.
Yeah, probably expect me to buy. The joys of being in a straight piped X5. Don't miss the... let's not miss the turn again. But yeah,
It's a turn, you told me it's around home.
I'm getting quite excited now. So we have the car, but this person in front of us does not want to let us drive anything over 30 kilometers per hour.
Oh no, we're 40 now.
Oh, we're 40.
We're 40. Oh, 39.
Class.
Oh, lads.
So it'll be a long road back down. So 4 hours to get up, 9 hours to get back. So the good old BMW X5 is on towing duties today. Massive thank you to Ross and also Jack for obviously driving as well. But this is the petrol station I usually stop at every time I come to Donegal Rally. And obviously the last 2 years I've been here with the S6, the year before with the Coupe Quattro, both on the drive up and on the drive down. It's the petrol station I always stop off at. So it's quite strange to be here with this. Introducing the new Retro Garage project, the Audi urS4. Now, you don't need to be eagle-eyed to realise that these two cars look very alike, and that's because essentially this, the Audi urS4, or the original S4, the S4 C4 is the pre-facelift version of my S6, which is also a C4 chassis car. The idea was that was based on an Audi 100, so they called it the S4 because it was bigger than the S2, and this was then when they renamed the 100 to the A6. This obviously got the S6 name. And the most important part of this car is, of course, oh, that's already open. The most important part about this car is, of course, the 5-cylinder turbo engine, that 20-valve 5-cylinder turbo engine. I absolutely love it. You guys know what it sounds like. You know how much I adore these, and the fact that I have 20-valve Coupe Quattro as well that has basically a non-turbo version of that engine. Also has a bit of pulling required there. Also has pretty much exactly the same engine. The engine code for these is AAN, and they are both, as I say, 20-valve 5-cylinder turbo engines. Now, as you can see, this car needs quite a lot of love at the moment. It's been off the road since, I believe, 2013, and you know, that's what, 11, 12 years almost off the road, and it's probably been sat outside for a good bit of that time. But there are a couple of redeeming factors of this car. Of course, that engine. When I first found out about this car, I just wanted the engine as a donor for one of the other projects like the Audi 80, because these engines are quite valuable and they just sound really, really cool. It's kind of the engine that I'm most excited about when it comes to all of Audi's lineups. And this also has a couple of other tasty bits on it, such as a very not so pretty looking, but an original, or what I believe is an original Audi RS2 turbocharger. So a little bit bigger than what's on my other car. Aesthetically, of course, they are very similar cars, and this was the days where facelifts were actually just facelifts. So the headlights are just a slight bit different. They're a bit bigger on the older car. The indicators are a bit more squared off, and the bumper is a lot more old school looking than the more rounded late 90s version on the S6. The grille as well is a little bit more squared off than it is on my S6, which I'll show you now, which is a little bit more angled in as well. So this, I do really like the look of the S4 because it just has a kind of a more old school appeal. This is definitely late 90s. This is 100% without a doubt early 90s. But the biggest difference that you might notice is the fact that this is a Saloon and this is an Avant. I love the Saloon, but initially when I went to buy this Saloon and I found out that it existed, I'd never seen pictures of it, and I was told that it was an Avant. And I was told it was Europa Blue, but I was told that it was an Avant rather than a Saloon. And at the time, I really, really wanted an Avant. I just loved wagons. I loved the idea of having a 5-cylinder turbo wagon because I really wanted an Audi S2 Avant at the time. And when I saw this and I saw that it was an Avant, I was like, there's part of me being half German that absolutely loves the idea of practicality, and I think this, the Avant, with its absolutely ginormous boot, serves that purpose. And one thing that's really interesting is, if I try not to slip, it has a hitch, which means that we might be able to tow one of the other cars with this. And it has one of my favorite features as well, a semi heck blender, so somewhat of a heck blender here around the number plate. Now you might notice the paint isn't the best. Originally this car is not Nogaro blue. It's been repainted, and it was repainted not brilliantly about, I want to say, back in 2011. I did find a kind of a build thread on a forum, proper old school forum from 2011, where this car was repainted. It was originally dark blue, a more dark blue version of my S6, not quite Europa Blue, I can't remember the name of the colour, but it was the darker version of that again. Now, we do have roof racks. The car is Nogaro blue. It is a 5-cylinder turbo. So the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that it's somewhat of a bigger brother to the Audi RS2. And that makes quite a lot of sense too, because Porsche was never actually meant to work on the RS2. It was never meant to make the RS2 based on the S2/Audi 80. It was actually meant to base their car, their RS car, on one of these. So the fact that this is Nogaro blue is quite fitting, and you know, the idea that Porsche was meant to do an RS version of this is somewhat of my Roman Empire. So now I have a car where I might be able to execute what that might have looked like. I adore the interior of my Audi S6. I think there's something so timeless about it, especially with the black leather, black headliner, the black Recaro seats, and of course the carbon trim on the doors as well. The car behind me is quite different in terms of its colour scheme, but it still retains a lot of that timelessness as well, just not to the same extent, but there's a certain charm about that, and I'll show you what I mean. See, the interior is pretty much exactly the same as my S6, just with a very different colour combination. You know, if you look past the mould, this is actually kind of like a cream colour. The headliner is also cream. The bottom of the dash is also cream. The bottom of the door is also cream, and so are the door cards. But it does have the redeeming factor of having the carbon trim. I never actually realised that this would have come on Audi S4s as well as Audi S6s. I thought it was just something for the very late model Audi S6s, because most other S6s and all S4s that I've ever seen have come with the wooden trim. Now, the steering wheel is, because this is a pre-airbag car, the steering wheel is very similar to what's in my Audi Quattro, namely this kind of Nardi style steering wheel. Clocks are the same as in my S6, they're the white clocks. As you found on like all of the S models at the time, the urS2 would have got blue clocks. Now, you might be able to notice that unfortunately this car is also automatic, just like my Audi S6. Which means that we'll have to prioritise. I probably will manual swap this at some point, but I will still prioritise manual swapping the S6, because I think that's going to be the car that's going to be the prettier car, but also the bigger project. As well as that, then, you might be able to see in here we have a button for the locking rear diff, which the S6 for some reason doesn't have. I think it's done electronically instead. This one you still have a physical button where you yourself can control it, which means we might be able to do some fun skids with this in the snowier months. Well, sorry, we live in Ireland, so that's about 2 days a year. But that said, I do quite like the spec of this. The cream Recaro seats with these kind of holes in the headrests, and as well they're heated and electric as well, which are two things that my S6 doesn't have. Now, let's talk about the bad parts, because even though I'm really happy with what's under the bonnet and I'm happy with the whole, you know, the condition the car itself is actually in, unfortunately we have wings that are pretty much completely rotten away and are crumbling away in my hands. But thankfully, from what I understand, and I haven't seen underneath it of the car just yet, that is the worst of it. Because thankfully, well, Audis of this era, just like my S6 as well, are fully galvanised from factory, meaning we shouldn't have too many issues. But paint-wise, as I said, it wasn't done great a good few years ago. So there's bits of bubbling here on the sunroof, as well as back here under the back windows. Now, one of the biggest problems with this car, as you can probably tell by this booster pack, is the fact that it doesn't run. Now, it's partially due to the fact that it doesn't have a battery. Let me just figure out actually how to connect this. So, is this a stupid idea? Probably. Now, as you can probably tell, because of me needing a booster pack, it doesn't run, but the biggest reason for that is unfortunately not just because of the battery, but also because it just doesn't. No, that's not doing anything. Bollocks. Now, unfortunately, we can't actually get it started now. I thought I could just throw the booster pack on it, but it wants there to be a battery in there as well for the booster pack even to work. Basically, the car doesn't start. I'm hoping it's just something like a fueling issue, and that there's just a bad fuel pump in it, or that the cam position sensor is gone, and well, that we end up just when we do the timing belt, that cam position sensor can be replaced and that we can fix it that way. We have turned the engine over and it does seem good, and it does seem like there's plenty of compression. It seems like everything's good. No weird noises when we were turning it over when we went to collect it. But yeah, it doesn't start. It doesn't run. But I'm not going to let that deter me. I think it's going to be an interesting project. It's going to be a pretty cool project. It needs a lot of tidying up first. I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure it runs, or just getting it running, or figuring out even why it doesn't run, such as maybe even just looking into the fuel pump, maybe going around the car a little bit with a voltmeter, just seeing where electricity is going. Maybe it's an old school 90s immobilizer on this that hasn't been disconnected yet. So whatever it is, we'll try to get to the bottom of it first. But from January onwards, the plan is to try get this car back ready for road, get it kind of up and rolling, get it moving, and also just tidy it all up. And then we can start looking at putting it back on the road and doing a cool project, maybe repainting it again in more than likely Nagaro blue, wheels, coilovers, the usual, maybe a bit of engine upgrades, or maybe robbing that urS2 turbo for my S6 and at the same time trying to manual swap that car, and then once we've learned from the manual swap of this car, maybe do a slightly different setup for this car. So yeah, we'll see. But at the end of the day, I now have essentially a retrogarage van that I can move wheels around with, which is obviously a very important thing for me to be able to do with all of the projects. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think I should do with the new project, and also please don't follow or subscribe to Retrogarage if you don't like old school or classic cars. And a big thank you to James behind the camera from Drift Theory for helping me film this video. We'll talk to you as always in the next one. Cheers, take care, bye-bye.